It's a Saturday night in 2002. James Cameron just directed the season finale of his TV series himself. This is his first directing gig since winning the Oscar for Titanic. The network calls the producers that weekend and tells them they've been renewed. Everyone celebrates. Then Monday morning comes and the phone rings again. This time, actually no, you're canceled. The show was approved and then canceled in just 2 days. That's the story of Dark Angel, and it's just one of the infuriating tales we're covering today. Because if there's one thing network executives have proven time and time again, it's that they have an almost supernatural ability to cancel the wrong shows at the wrong time. Today, we're counting down 12 sci-fi series from the late 80s through the early 2000s that were ripped away from us before their time. Shows that built passionate fan bases, won awards, and in some cases, changed television history. All while getting absolutely demolished by the networks that created them. If you're the kind of person who still gets angry about these cancellations, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let's dive in. Number 12, The Adventures of Brisco County Jr.
Well, it's fine by me, Boulder, but I gotta warn you, I'm real hungry and I could be here all day.
Let's find out.
We're starting our countdown in 1993 with a show that might be the most fun entry on this list. The Adventures of Brisco County Jr., starring the one and only Bruce Campbell. Created by Jeffrey Boehm and Carlton Cuse. And yes, that's the same Carlton Cuse who would later create Lost. This was a sci-fi western steampunk mashup that's been described as Indiana Jones meets Wild Wild West. It ran for one glorious season of 27 episodes on Fox before getting the axe. Here's what makes this cancellation particularly frustrating. Brisco started with impressive ratings, but it was scheduled in the Friday night death slot, and over the course of the season, those numbers declined. The show was expensive to produce, and Fox had a choice to make. They could keep Brisco, or they could keep this other weird show in the same Friday night block called The X-Files. We all know how that turned out. Bruce Campbell later reflected on the cancellation. He noted that Brisco's offbeat humor wouldn't have been developed on any other network, but Fox's audience was urban. Not exactly the demographic that historically loved westerns. The show developed a massive cult following. Fans have done live table read reunions with the cast. And here's a fun piece of trivia. Composer Randy Edelman's iconic Brisco theme was so good that NBC later licensed it for their Olympic Games coverage. So even if you've never seen the show, you've probably heard its music. Number 11, Alien Nation. Next up is Alien Nation, which ran from 1989 to 1990 on the fledgling Fox network. Based on the 1988 film, it was created by Kenneth Johnson, the mastermind behind V and the Incredible Hulk. The premise used alien immigration as a metaphor for racism and cultural integration. The newcomers, these Tenctonese aliens, had been enslaved, then freed on Earth, and were now trying to integrate into Los Angeles society.
The collective odors of the collective bodies of humans under these conditions has inflamed my nasal cavity.
How'd you like another cavity inflamed?
It was smart, it was timely, and it ran for one season of 22 episodes before cancellation. But here's the thing, Alien Nation wasn't canceled for bad ratings. It was canceled because Fox was in a financial crisis and dropped all of their dramas for the 1990 to 91 season. The network's president Peter Chernin later admitted the cancellation was a mistake. What happened next is one of the greatest fan campaign success stories in television history. A massive letter-writing campaign followed the cancellation, and it actually worked. Between 1994 and 1997, 5 TV movies were produced: Dark Horizon, Body and Soul, Millennium, The Enemy Within, and The Udara Legacy. And get this, the entire original cast returned. That's the dream, folks. That's what every canceled show's fan base hopes for. Number 10, Nowhere Man. In 1995, UPN launched a show that TV Guide called this season's coolest hit. It was called Nowhere Man, and it starred Bruce Greenwood as Thomas Vale, a photojournalist whose entire identity gets erased in a single evening. The pilot was directed by horror legend Tobe Hooper. The music was composed by Mark Snow, fresh off The X-Files, and the guest star list reads like a who's who of future stars. Carrie Ann Moss showed up 3 years before The Matrix. Bryan Cranston appeared. Maria Bello, Ted Levine, Dean Stockwell. The show ran for 25 episodes, and it drew constant comparisons to The Prisoner and The Fugitive. But UPN was in its first year and having an identity crisis. Halfway through the season, executives asked creator Lawrence Herzog to incorporate a more identifiable ongoing storyline. He resented the interference and later admitted he checked out emotionally during the last 4 episodes. Here's the wild part. There was no planned resolution. The team was basically flying by the seat of their pants the entire time. The finale revealed that Vale's identity had been implanted through brainwashing, and he was actually a covert government operative. Herzog said if the show had been renewed, it would have followed the Manchurian Candidate trope more closely. Bruce Greenwood, of course, went on to play Captain Pike in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek films, so at least someone landed on their feet. Number 9. Brimstone.
Time to give the devil his due.
Speaking of dark premises, let's talk about Brimstone, which premiered on Fox in October 1998. The setup is wild. In 1983, NYPD detective Ezekiel Stone's wife was raped. He tracked down and murdered the rapist, then died himself 2 months later. He went to hell, but not for the killing. He went to hell because he took pleasure in it. 15 years later, 113 souls escape hell, and the devil sends Stone back to recapture them.
They think they'll beat the devil. They're wrong, Ezekiel. Nobody beats me.
If he returns all 113, he earns a second chance at life. Peter Horton played Stone, but the real star was John Glover as the devil. Originally a recurring character, Glover was made a series regular after producers saw his incredible chemistry with Horton. Critics have described his performance as one of the most wickedly delightful on-screen Satans of all time. The show explored deep issues of faith, forgiveness, and redemption. It pioneered the anti-hero concept years before Tony Soprano or Walter White became household names, and Fox canceled it after just 13 episodes, partway through shooting the 14th. About 2 minutes of that unfinished episode actually exist. Here's the real tragedy. No official DVD or Blu-ray has ever been released, despite being ranked 13th on one site's list of most wanted unreleased shows. Warner Home Video said in 2008 that despite the wonderful work of the cast, there were no plans for a release. The show simply exists in a kind of purgatory, which, given its premise, feels grimly appropriate. Number 8. Earth 2. Now we're going back to 1994 for Earth 2, a show with Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment behind it. The premise was ambitious. It's the year 2192, and colonists crash land on planet G889. The show filmed in northern New Mexico, and it premiered with a 2-hour pilot that reached number 8 for the week. A successful debut by any measure. But then, the Nielsen share dropped dramatically, from 23% down to 9% over the course of the season. Sunday night scheduling didn't help, with NFL games constantly pushing the start time later. The internal drama was just as brutal. When Spielberg saw the finished pilot, he removed his name from the series credits. Staff at NBC and Amblin started derogatorily calling the show Gilligan's Planet. NBC canceled it on May 15, 1995. But Earth 2 has a special place in television history. It featured one of the first female commanders in sci-fi TV. Devon Adair preceded Captain Janeway on Voyager by over 2 months, and the show had one of the earliest organized fan campaigns using the World Wide Web. Fans paid for a variety ad. They flew a banner over the 1995 Emmy Awards building. They organized letter-writing campaigns. One fan even called into Rush Limbaugh's radio show just to shout "Save Earth 2" before hanging up. Number 7. Now and Again.
You reaching out to anyone from your past absolutely guarantees your immediate and final death, and the death of whomever you confided in.
If you want a show that proves ratings aren't everything, look no further than Now and Again, which ran on CBS during the 1999 to 2000 season. Created by Glenn Gordon Caron, the mind behind Moonlighting, the premise was irresistible. Middle-aged insurance executive Michael Wiseman dies in a subway accident. The government places his brain in a genetically engineered superhuman body, supervised by the brilliant Dr. Theodore Morris. But here's the catch. Michael is forbidden from ever contacting his wife or daughter, under penalty of death. John Goodman played the original Michael in the pilot. Eric Close played the new body. Dennis Haysbert played the Doctor. And the show won 3 Saturn Awards, including Best Network Television Series. It holds a perfect 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So why was it canceled? The show cost approximately $2.4 million per episode, driven partly by filming on location in Midtown Manhattan. CBS programming chief Les Moonves described those expenses as unjustifiable given the ratings. There were also disputes about moving production from expensive New York to Los Angeles. The series finale ended on a massive, unresolved cliffhanger, Michael reuniting with his family while the military closes in. That cliffhanger was never resolved. Fans sent plastic eggs to CBS, referencing the show's villain called the Eggman. Multiple attempts to revive the show on other networks failed. Dennis Haysbert, at least, found his breakthrough. He went on to play President David Palmer on 24. Number 6. John Doe.
9:13. 22 seconds.
Staying on Fox, for number 6, we have John Doe, which premiered in September 2002. Right alongside another show you might have heard of called Firefly. Dominic Purcell played the title character, a mysterious man who wakes up naked on an island off Seattle's coast with no memory of who he is, but possessing the sum total of all human knowledge. He's colorblind, seeing the world in black and white, with only identity-related clues appearing in color. A shadowy organization called Phoenix watches his every move. The pilot reportedly cost $6 million and was directed by Mimi Leader. The show got a full 21-episode order, which was better treatment than Firefly received. But ratings declined nearly in half by spring, and Fox canceled it. Now here's where this gets really interesting. In an October 2004 Entertainment Weekly interview, the creators finally revealed what the full mythology was supposed to be. The villain unmasked in the finale had actually undergone facial reconstruction surgery. The real version of that character wasn't evil at all. The Phoenix organization believed Doe was the Messiah, and they were actually protecting him the entire time. His encyclopedic knowledge came from transcending his body during a near-death experience in a boating accident. He had traveled to a spiritual plane where all the universe's questions are answered. When asked what John Doe's real name was, co-creator Mike Thompson just shrugged. They never actually came up with one. Purcell, of course, went on to star in Prison Break. Number 5, American Gothic. Number 5 takes us to 1995 and one of the creepiest shows network television has ever produced. American Gothic. Created by former teen idol Sean Cassidy in his first major producing credit, and executive produced by Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert, this show gave us Gary Cole as Sheriff Lucas Buck, one of the most compelling villains in TV history. The show also featured an early career showcase for a young actress named Sarah Paulson. Set in fictional Trinity, South Carolina, the show drew approximately 8 million viewers for its first 3 episodes. For a brief window, it ranked as the 5th most viewed CBS series. But then CBS did what networks do best. They shelved the show from its Friday slot, moved it to Wednesday nights, pulled it again after the 12th episode, brought it back briefly in July, and never even aired 4 of the 22 episodes they produced. Episodes aired completely out of order, destroying the serialized storytelling. Sound familiar? This was the Firefly playbook 7 years early. The New York Times called American Gothic one of the few truly original new series of the season. Atmospheric, gripping, and chilling. Gary Cole's performance is still praised as the show's defining element. And the legacy? Sarah Paulson became a major star through American Horror Story. David Icke, one of the executive producers, went on to helm the Battlestar Galactica revival. Number 4. Space, Above and Beyond.
Look.
An Army APC. Where the hell did that come from?
At number 4, we have what might be the most ambitious military sci-fi series of the 90s, Space Above and Beyond. Created by Glenn Morgan and James Wong, who had just left The X-Files after its 2nd season. This show premiered in September 1995. It ran for 1 season of 23 episodes, with a budget of $1.5 to $2 million per episode. That made it one of the most expensive shows on television at the time. The show was scheduled on Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. against 60 Minutes. It was preempted for football, baseball, and hockey, preventing any audience from building. And according to accounts from the production, Peter Roth opposed the show from the beginning. When Morgan and Wong pitched over his head to hire executives and won, Roth allegedly vowed to kill the show through scheduling sabotage. When he was named head of Fox programming, any chance of renewal died. The show won Emmy nominations for special visual effects and music composition. It was created as a 5-season arc, and with plans ending in a bittersweet peace treaty. Season 2 would have seen the beloved Colonel McQueen return to Earth, face disabilities, and get a prosthetic leg built with enemy technology. None of that happened. Glenn Morgan later married his co-star Kristen Cloak. The creators returned to The X-Files, then went on to create the Final Destination franchise. And to this day, there's no Blu-ray release. Number 3. Dark Angel. We're in the top 3 now, and we're back to Fox for Dark Angel. Created by James Cameron and Charles H. Egley, this show premiered in October 2000 and made a star out of 19-year-old Jessica Alba. She was cast from over 1,000 auditions and spent a year training in martial arts, gymnastics, and motorcycle riding. The pilot drew 17.4 million viewers. That was the 10th most popular show that week. Season 1 averaged over 10 million viewers. Then Fox moved the show from Tuesday nights to Friday nights at 8 p.m. to make room for a little show called 24. Viewership dropped roughly 40%, but the cancellation itself is what makes this story legendary. Cameron directed the season 2 finale himself to show Fox the show's potential. The network called on Saturday to say they were renewed. Everyone celebrated Saturday night. Sunday passed, and then Monday morning, the phone rang. Actually, you're not on the schedule. Cameron said he'd never heard of that happening before. The show was approved and canceled in 2 days. And the kicker? Fox canceled Dark Angel, partly to make room for Joss Whedon's Firefly, which, as we'll discuss shortly, lasted less than 1 season. Jensen Ackles, who joined in season 2, later went on to star in Supernatural for 15 seasons. Alba built a film career and founded The Honest Company. And to this day, Alba has said that if James Cameron wanted to bring Dark Angel back, she'd do it again. Number 2. Farscape. At number 2, we have what might be the strangest, most creative, and most unfairly canceled show of its era. Farscape. Created by Rockne S. O'Bannon and co-produced by the Jim Henson Company. This show did something unprecedented. It featured two main characters, Rigel and Pilot, who were full-on animatronic puppets, not side characters, main cast members, in a primetime drama. Farscape ran for 4 seasons and 88 episodes, winning the Saturn Award for Best Syndicated Cable Television Series 3 years running. TV Guide ranked it number 4 on their top cult shows ever list. Ben Browder and Claudia Black became Sci-Fi royalty, and then came the betrayal. Sci-Fi Channel had given Farscape a celebrated 2-season pickup, seasons 4 and 5. Network president Bonnie Hammer declared the show had clearly struck a chord with viewers. Then, in September 2002, Sci-Fi withdrew funding for season 5, invoking a kill fee clause in the contract. The cancellation was leaked during an online chat between producers and fans. Sci-Fi didn't even have a press statement ready. When the producers found out the show was canceled, they deliberately kept the devastating cliffhanger ending. The two leads apparently killed and crystallized, rather than rewrite it into a proper conclusion. What happened next was one of the most creative fan campaigns in television history. SaveFarscape.com launched within hours. Fans picketed Sci-Fi headquarters. They raised over $80,000. They purchased a variety cover ad, ran newspaper ads, bought television and radio commercials. And in the legendary bra campaign, fans sent bras to the network. Browder later confirmed they had stacks of brassieres piled up in a room. The campaign worked. Sci-Fi postponed demolishing the sets, putting them in storage. And in October 2004, The Peacekeeper Wars aired, a 3-hour miniseries that resolved the major storylines and drew nearly 2 million viewers. Number 1. Firefly.
Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand.
You knew it was coming. The show that defines canceled too soon. The show whose creator called its cancellation the greatest grief I have about my career.
Now we'll stay out of his way as best we can from here on in. You explain that's best for everyone, okay?
Created by Joss Whedon, this space western premiered on September 20th, 2002. In the Friday night death slot at 8 p.m., it was designed to run 7 years. It lasted 11 episodes before Fox pulled the plug, with 3 more airing later on Sci-Fi Channel. Where do we even begin with what went wrong? Fox rejected the original 2-hour pilot as too dark. Whedon and Tim Minear wrote a replacement pilot in 2 days. The network then aired episodes completely out of order, destroying the narrative for new viewers. The actual pilot? It aired last. The network promoted the show as an action comedy, when it was a character drama. Promos gave characters ridiculous nicknames, and used a Smash Mouth song that made it look like a completely different show. One producer recalled watching the promos and feeling his mouth drop open. Fox executives pressured Whedon to make Captain Mal more jolly. They wanted the married couple Wash and Zoe to not be married. Whedon refused. When Fox finally said they'd pick up the show, but only if the characters couldn't be married, Whedon's response was simple. Then, don't pick up the show. Fox Entertainment president Gail Berman later admitted canceling Firefly was as difficult as anything she'd ever been involved in. The show wasn't pulling numbers and was too expensive, but the fans, who called themselves Browncoats after the show's rebel soldiers, refused to let it die. They purchased variety ads. The DVD box set sold out within 24 hours of pre-orders, moving approximately 500,000 copies by September 2005. Fans raised over $14,000 to place Firefly DVD sets aboard 250 U.S. Navy ships. When Nathan Fillion joked about buying the rights with lottery money, fans raised $1 million in pledges. And it worked. Universal Studios produced the film Serenity in 2005 on a $39 million budget. It won the Hugo Award and the Nebula Award for Best Script. Dark Horse and Boom Studios published comic continuations. An annual charity event called Can't Stop the Serenity has raised over $1.35 million since 2006. Whedon later said that in Hollywood, people who never give up are called unrealistic, quixotic, and obsessive. In his world, they're called browncoats. Conclusion. So what do all 12 of these shows have in common? 6 of them were killed by the Friday night death slot. Firefly, Dark Angel Season 2, Brimstone, John Doe, Now and Again, and Brisco County Jr. Fox alone canceled 7 of these 12 series. Episodes aired out of order for Firefly, American Gothic, Earth 2, and Brimstone. Every single time, networks sabotaged serialized storytelling that depended on sequential viewing. But here's the thing. The fundamental tension underlying all 12 shows is the same. Networks wanted safe, broad, inexpensive programming. These shows delivered ambitious, expensive, serialized storytelling to passionate niche audiences. That model, the one networks kept rejecting in the 90s and early 2000s, it became the foundation of prestige television and streaming. Every one of these shows was, in its way, ahead of its time. Jensen Ackles, Jessica Alba, Sarah Paulson, Dennis Haysbert, Dominic Purcell, Bruce Greenwood, Carrie Ann Moss, Ben Browder, Claudia Black. All of them became major stars after their shows were canceled. The talent was always there. The networks just couldn't see it. 3 fan campaigns achieved concrete results. Alien Nation got 5 TV movies. Farscape got The Peacekeeper Wars. Firefly got Serenity. It's proof that passion matters, that showing up matters, that refusing to let something die sometimes actually works. So the next time you're watching some new sci-fi show and you're worried about whether it'll get renewed, just remember, you're part of a long, proud tradition. We've been through this before, and sometimes, just sometimes, we win. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, hit subscribe, leave a comment about which canceled show you miss most, and I'll see you in the next one.